variables used. Do you think the text has been, the original text had diagrams as well? Were the reference to?
Yeah, definitely there were diagrams, because Hero refers to the diagrams sometimes. Well, his basic method of describing something in the text, I'll just pull up the example of the libation system here, is to describe all these new letters here, Greek letters. And sometimes there's not enough information given to really understand what they mean. And so it's clear that there were diagrams which had these letters in the text to indicate exactly what he's talking about. So yeah. And in some of the manuscripts as well, we find spaces left for the diagrams. So perhaps the scribe was copying it quite quickly, left a space for the diagram, meant to come back and do it and never did, or something like that. So yeah, and it could be that may be the mechanism by which we lost Hero's original diagrams, as I feel we have, and many scholars feel we have. Yeah. Yeah.
You made the calculations for led you to believe that maybe the reservoir for the water might have been bigger than he mentions. You used water as the liquid.
No. So yeah, we used.
Is it possible that does he specifically talks that he used water for the mechanism?
So no. If you look here, he says milk must spurt out of the thyrsus and wine from the cup. So he mentions that a number of times. So yeah, so we used kinematic viscosity for milk and wine. And so that's part of the reason, as well as the different height that they're falling, that we get such a stronger jet for the wine than we do for the water. Yeah, so when we calculate Reynolds number, we use the viscosities for wine and milk. And so yeah, the wine shoots out much further as a result. Yeah.
Do you actually have a simulation where I can see it moving?
No. So it's definitely possible, and something that will be the next thing that we'll get straight onto. The focus at the moment has been producing the 2D drawings that need to go out for quotation to build. But yeah, I'm just about to get on to building better simulations. Yeah, yeah.
And about the diagrams, if they were on text or not, I didn't look at it very closely, but at least at first glance, it didn't seem completely impossible to reconstruct diagrams just from the text. So if you take Euclid's elements, were at this time, a few centuries after Euclid, were the copies that were around then, did they already have diagrams, for example?
Yeah, I'm not sure actually. The PI on our project, Ian Ruffle, has been looking into ancient diagrams, and that's one of the things that he'll be including in his monograph that he's producing. But yeah, I haven't looked at the text of Euclid's elements, so I'm not sure. Sorry. Yeah, to the back. Yeah.
Why did you choose to put a 3D model of the pulleys, but not like a wooden one? Which would be, in my opinion, better for experimenting with it, because plastic is different, acts different than wood. Yeah,
definitely. So we will be when we build the 3D model. We're currently searching for a private company to build the model itself, and so when we have one, when we've accepted a quotation, then we'll be building them. And that's definitely correct. So one of the things we noticed actually in using this, and you can come and have a look at this later, is that just after about 4 or 5 times of lifting a 10 kilogram weight, there was quite significant melting in the 3D model. in the 3D printed version. So that's one big difference, yeah. So we won't be doing that again, yeah. With heavy weights anyway. Yeah, so was a hand right at the back or no? No, okay, sorry. Yep, I'll go for you and then I'll come over to you guys, yeah. So,
I have a question about the diameter of the pipes. You said, I think, 5 millimeters or so?
Yeah, internal diameter, yep.
From my experience with water clocks, I would say this is too much.
Oh, yeah, right.
Maybe the pipes itself, but at least the outlet opening would be, I think it would have been much smaller, because I would be a little bit skeptical about the total of liquid that is used there. I would say they're using less and using pipes with smaller diameter.
Right. Yeah, so the actual diameter of the nozzle, I should have mentioned, is 3 millimeters, the internal diameter.
No, I think
Yeah.
we have water clock outlets with a diameter less than 2 millimeters.
Okay. So that's a hole drilled through stone, is that the...
Through gold. Or,
Through gold.
As Vitruvius tells us, gold or a gem, kind of precious stone.
Okay.
So, and I would say these are much smaller
Yeah.
as possible.
I guess my concern is to that we have to construct, or that if we go back to...
As for example, we have these clocks, as described by Vitruvius.
Yeah.
This clock of Ctesibius and
Yeah.
If we use the Arabic treatises,
Yeah.
They run for 12 hours. A complete water clock with 130 liters of water.
Right.
It is possible.
Yeah, sure.
So for 12
Yeah.
hours. So I would say, I guess it's less, not so much liquid at all.
Yeah, my only concern is the fabrication of these pipes, I guess. Because, yeah.
Vitruvius too tells you have this part, and he said you took 2 pipes, or tympana turning to another. I saw that.
Yeah.
Like an epitonium.
Yep.
And he tells us it's a very similar description to, for example, the force pumps.
Yep.
And he said it did it like on a lathe, so to say.
Yeah.
And I would say there's a method to deal with metals who is still, there's a German publication from experimental archaeology, how they did it. They did it like they drill wood, for example. Okay. Possible.
I would really like to see that in publication. Yeah, that would be great. Thanks. That would be good. Yeah. Over here, Martine, and then behind you,
I was wondering where the liquid pours into. So when the libation occurs, does it just splatter to the ground, or is there something where it's being catched?
Yeah, so that's a good question actually, because if we go back and look at the entire automaton for a second. Yeah, let's just look at this one. Actually, let's look at the SolidWorks model. Okay, so there's no description about what happens to liquids afterwards. Presumably, they just fall on the ground like a libation often occurred. He also doesn't give any description of what happens to the millet or mustard seed after it falls out of the bottom of the tube here. And nor does he say what happens to the lead balls that fall out of the container and onto the drum and the cymbal. So yeah, it's not something that he really deals with at all. Sorry, did you have another question as well?
Yeah, one question would be if you compare the complexity of your automaton to the complexity of a clock, where it is more complex, less complex, would it be technically possible with the knowledge that you have in there to also build a clock, only they just chose not to?
Yeah, right. The gearing is very different from the way, I'm no expert on clocks, but the way I understand most clocks work work on a clockwork mechanism more like the Antikythera mechanism, all the gearing here is done by means of ropes around different sized circular objects, such as, if we look at this gear here, this gear slows down the turning of the monads. So there's a very large gear here, the rope is wound onto here, and then it passes over this pulley and it's wound around the disc that the monads will move. And then from there, a cord wound around this axle here passes on to the thing. So there's no interlocking cog gears like we see in modern clockwork clocks, I guess. So yeah, I don't think I'd be competent to say how it compares. One interesting thing is that, and this relates to water clocks as well, I guess, is that...
If I may, you say you have this description by Procopius of Gaza, this monumental water clock from around 580.
Yeah.
And the clock of Gaza shows one distinct feature. It has a lot of automata put together. And for example, one automata is Heracles shooting at the apples of the Hesperides. And yeah, they took an automata from Heron, who explains how this automata works, and put it, they puzzle together all this automata and synchronize them, and then you have a clock. It's
right.
Just, the problem is just to put them at the right time in the right turn,
Yep.
to synchronize them. That's because that water clocks are just automata put together.
Thank you. Yeah. That's something that also Ian Ruffle has been looking into, is the water clock of Procopius of Gaza. Yeah, which is another interesting thing to do with water clocks, and also is the way that the millet flows out of the bottom of the tube here. The way that the grains interact, as opposed to the way a Newtonian fluid works like water, or more or less Newtonian, is that there's actually a big build-up of pressure at the bottom here, which means that the different weights on top of it don't actually push the grains out any faster out the bottom. So as this weight moves down and the amount of grain on top of the hole reduces, it doesn't actually slow down the way that the grain flows out. It keeps flowing out at the same speed. So this is the principle on which an hourglass works, essentially. And so it's interesting that, as far as I'm aware, hourglasses weren't used in antiquity. Yeah. Yeah, so this might have been an easier way of getting a constant time method. Essentially the method that's used to retard the falling of this weight, rather than having to deal with the changing flow rate of the water clock, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, one more. Could you elaborate on why your rope redirecting thingy qualifies as programming?
Yeah, so you've got these 6 or 7 different mechanisms that occur within the automaton. You can have them occur at any point within the performance by programming it at the beginning. So you can have the wheels move first and last, or you can have them move in the middle. You can have the monads dance once, twice, 3 times, at the beginning, in the middle, at the end, whenever you want, because you set this all beforehand by arranging all the different ropes so that only one set of ropes is working at any one time and the others are being paused as that one is occurring, I guess. So essentially you're writing a program at the beginning before the performance, and then you set it off and it does what you've programmed, I guess. So that's why I would, and why many scholars, suggest that it's programming. Yeah. So instead of having punch cards or a disc or something, you've got a set of ropes that are all wound around. Yeah. It's not as easy as punch cards, but yeah.
I have one question about, do you have already hypotheses for the possible use of, assuming that it was built or hoping to be built, what could have been the use? Well, you mentioned a theater, so a setting in a theater.
Yeah.
And also before the talk, some kind of symposium
Yeah.
setting. Or are you hoping just to have a more concrete sense of what could have been used for by building it and testing it?
Yeah, so for the Ptolemaic period, we've got some pretty good evidence of how automata were used in Hellenistic and classical Greece even. So in large processions and parades apparently, but also in terms of entertaining people at the Hellenistic court in smaller groupings seem to have been the ways in which it was used. But we're starting to have a few interesting ideas about that as we start to get a feel for the range that is possible. Hero mentions that the range is an issue, and that's why there are two different types of tube. If we've got here, we can see we've got this one weight at the bottom, and this one weight has to power everything that happens. So everything that happens has to deal with only this distance that the weight can fall. But if we change the configuration to when there's a double configuration, Hero suggests an alternative. He suggests having one weight to power the motion, which can be stopped by turning off the flow of millet at the bottom, and then another smaller weight to power everything else. So then you've decoupled. And so this is one way of getting more range, because it seems that in terms of range, we're talking meters, really there and back. So it's difficult for it to move into a big space and out again with the parameters that we've got. Maybe it could come from behind a curtain or something like that, but if it's a large room, it's not going to be able to come in from those doors at the back right to the front or anything like that. So yeah, that kind of gives us an idea of what the limits of its performance and the room size might be. Yeah.
I think if there are no more questions, we can move to the wine. I wish you the best of luck to actually build it. If you manage to build it, we want one for the seminar to replace the people who want to have glasses anymore. We hope that we need from the door. And then all people, whether the ask is trying to catch the people. Not me, maybe just one, but I think we could use it. Anyway, thanks again.
Thanks.